The Athletic. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's good. He needs to keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Come in and
Anybody that
slice your
comes
head
on
off.
this,
Bad move.
he's also a Packers insider, and he's on 97.3 The Game.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Schneidman.
Yeah.
Schneidman. What up, man?
How you guys doing?
I like the football coming out of your head.
Yeah.
Right there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
On the left side.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it looks like, whenever you go into a restaurant and they got like the car crashed in.
Yep.
It's just like the ass end of the thing.
Like
Great
the Halloween
touch.
decoration where the witch's legs are out the back of the
Boom, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a football was thrown into his head.
Yeah.
And his head caught it.
Yep.
And then now he's just kind of going about it. I like that. Look like you're a football head, dude.
Always thinking about ball.
Always ball.
Ball
Always
on the
on mind.
Yeah.
Literally. Yep. Amen. Great to be back.
Come on, yeah.
Come on.
That's class.
All right, Schneidman, sorry. We will get back to this. We just talked to Jane about Micah. Ty came on the show earlier. Send him 3 ones. Give him $45 million a year. Let's get Micah to Green Bay, Wisconsin. How is that conversation there? Is it a reality? Like, what are the thoughts on that becoming a thing for the people that actually know what's going on over there, like yourself?
Yeah, I think right now, to my knowledge, Jerry's not even listening to trade offers, so I'm not sure that an actual trade offer can be made unless he picks up the phone. So the Packers may have, an outline of what they would offer, but if Jerry Jones isn't listening to legitimate trade offers, then I'm not sure that one is technically on the table. It's semantics, but if he does entertain it, from what I've heard, the Packers will be interested and will be in the mix, which, look, it's information, but it's not a surprise. If you think back to 2018, and Ty knows this, the Packers aren't, normally in the mix on these big name trades, and you don't really always see them get in the mix around the trade deadline. But the Packers finished second place to the Bears for Khalil Mack in 2018, and they were barely outbid. Brian Gutekunst, a couple times in his career, that being, the biggest instance, has been willing to offer a first-round pick for a veteran player. In some instances, it just hasn't panned out, and other teams have outbid them. So this is kind of an eerily similar situation where it's right before the season, as the Khalil Mack trade was. It's for a edge rusher in the prime of his career, and it would really take the Packers to the next level. What would it take if this were to become a reality? It would be multiple first-round picks at least, and I think a player like a wide receiver. I'm not sure they would have to give up any edge rushers, but it might be a player like a Romeo Doubs or a Dontavian Wicks, plus a couple first-round picks and maybe more draft capital later in the draft.
And if you give away a couple first-round picks, obviously you're making the move so that you're very late in the first round. So is it actually an early second round, depending upon the draft class and how everybody's ranked? If you can win, I think every fan is like, let's make the play. And you talked about Gutekunst potentially being in on this before. Can they handle it? Can they handle a $45 million salary? How does that kind of look going forward? Because they've already paid Jordan, right? So is that a beneficial or not beneficial for this type of thing?
Yeah, they can fit it. I mean, their third highest cap number on the team this year was Jair Alexander, and they freed up a bunch of space by releasing him. The 2 highest are Jordan and Rashawn Gary, I think. So financially, it's the cop-out answer, but there's always a way to make it work, and they figure out how to make it work. I do think it's interesting. I'm not sure how much this affects things if negotiations do happen. David Mulugeta represents the most important player for the Packers on offense and on defense, and he obviously represents Micah Parsons too.
That's crazy. Mulugeta will get a deal. If there's a deal to get done, Mulugeta will get it done, and his client will win. On that note, Ty has a question for you.
Yeah, Schneids, I think everyone probably assumes that, LaFleur and Gutekunst will get re-upped here shortly just because the Packers have been pretty successful over their run and they've made the playoffs. But is there any thought with Ed Policy coming in and it not being Mark Murphy there anymore and kind of it being a little bit of a new regime? Is this in any way maybe like kind of a prove-it year for both LaFleur and Gutekunst if the Packers kind of, I don't want to say fall flat, but don't kind of do what a lot of people expect them to do?
Yeah, so we sat down with Ed Policy, just the local writers, a couple weeks ago, and he said he's not extending LaFleur and Gutekunst now. LaFleur and Gutekunst both have 2 years left on their contracts. This is Gute's 8th year, LaFleur's 7th. He said he also doesn't want them in contract years, so basically he would like to make a decision one way or the other after this season. My take coming out of that was, okay, he's leaning toward extending them. Sure, LaFleur and Goody are not Ed's guys, technically, but Ed has been here since 2012. He served on the hiring panel for Matt LaFleur. He negotiated the contracts for LaFleur and Gutekunst as the Packers' general counsel. But there is something to be said for wanting to make your mark and, viewing things differently than maybe Mark Murphy did. So I spoke to someone recently and was told that he's truly up in the air about the futures of Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst. So I might have been wrong in my initial read. Look, if the Packers don't make the playoffs this year, which I don't think happens, but it's a possibility, I could certainly see Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst, and I don't think this is hyperbole, both getting fired after this year. Now, if they make the playoffs, say lose in the first round again, it could be something where Ed lets them go into a contract year because he needs to see more. If they go further in the playoffs, they'll probably get extended. So my takeaway from that is it's very much up in the air, and their jobs, again, I don't think this is dramatic to say, are very much in the balance when it comes to how the team does this season.
That's pretty, you said not dramatic. I think it's pretty dramatic. That'd be a huge change.
Yeah.
That'd be a huge change for the Green Bay Packers, especially with how I like the policies coming in with his own policy.
Yeah, me too.
I like that Ed's just like, you know what? New policy in town.
That's policy football.
What I say goes.
Yeah. What Mark said, cool, that's Murphy's Law.
His policy.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes.
Ed's got policies, and these are them. You win, or I'm sick of watching it. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Now, I don't know how much he had to do with the pick over there in Green Bay this year because the place lit up in a big way. It was fun to be in that city whenever that draft pick was announced. Go ahead, Con, man.
Yeah, Schneid's Ty kind of threw in Dobbs there for the trade for Micah, and with Golden being the number one and, Watson, Jaden Reed, it feels like that wide receiver room is kind of stacked. How has it been as a whole for Golden, assuming he's the number one receiver here, and what is kind of the wide receiver room looking like and shaping up to be for the Pack?
Yeah, I don't want to crown the kid before he's ever played in an NFL game, but and I've certainly been victim to overreacting to things in training camp before in my, now 7 years covering the team. But Matthew Golden looks like the team's best receiver from the past month that we've been watching. He looks every bit a first-round pick. As you guys all know, they couldn't catch a pass to save their lives last year. Matthew Golden has caught pretty much everything. Christian Watson's going to be out at least the first 4 weeks. He tore his ACL in Week 18. They think he's going to want to play in they have a bye Week 5, but they think he'll want to play in Week 6. I don't think they'll let him. And then Jaden Reed, Savion Williams, their rookie third-round pick receiver out of TCU, and Wicks are all dealing with injuries right now. So it's pretty much Romeo Dobbs, Matthew Golden, and Malik Heath, who's their number 6 wide receiver when everyone's healthy.
Yeah, Malik, he's a dog.
We're in trouble.
Yeah.
He's,
Yeah, but think about all the Packers fans going,
that will be sweet.
It was cool, trust me.
Yeah, whenever Heath Miller was on the Steelers, it was so cool because the Steelers fans travel. So it'd be other stadiums. You guys could do the same thing with Malik, number 3 wide receiver for you guys.
We could do like Micah. I think that'd be a little better.
Is he playing wide receiver for you? Maybe.
He could. I'd be open to that.
Because you said Dobbs can go. He's the only healthy guy you got other than Golden.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're getting Micah, and maybe
is Jordan throwing it to himself?
That's something we don't know right now. Has Micah went to Jerry and said, "Hey, let me get a couple snaps in the slot," and Jerry's like, "Micah, shut up. You just we don't know that."
Maybe Micah wants J.J. Watt, Vrabel.
Exactly.
Yes. A couple tuds.
Turned down for Parsons.
Yeah. Why not do that on the frozen tundra?
You mentioned Golden, how he's by far been the best wide receiver you guys have. I think that is what people would describe as like first round qualities. Okay. Do you watch him and think to yourself, maybe we should have pulled the trigger on a first round wide receiver before when we had like Aaron as our quarterback and he's one of the greatest ball throwers of all time? Maybe if we would have got a guy who could run a 4.3, it would have done a little. Maybe even with Jordy, with how good Jordy was, or even with Devontae, add in one of those. Is there any of those thoughts like, hey, this is really cool that we did this? Don't want to be a negative Nance here. I am a journalist. Why didn't we? Is there any of that going on while you're watching Matthew? Once again, hasn't played a single down. We understand that. But watching him on the field, it's like, that's a first rounder? You can clearly tell, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, this might seem like a cop-out answer, but the Packers not drafting a first-round receiver, at least under Brian Gutekunst, has not been for necessarily a lack of trying. I don't know if I've said this on here before, but I've certainly written it. In 2020, before they drafted Jordan Love, Brian Gutekunst, and he's told me this on the record, they tried to trade up for a wide receiver. He didn't name who, but Brandon Ayuk and Justin Jefferson were both picked a couple picks before Jordan Love. I would imagine it was one of those two. So the Packers actually tried trading up for a wide receiver in that 2020 draft. Obviously, the Niners and Vikings.
No, I can't.
In Devontae.
Instead of Jordan Love situation. No, Jordan Love obviously good for the future.
Yes.
Good for the current. And Gutekunst can certainly look back at all of us and you, Mad Ty.
Yeah.
Certainly in that moment. Imagine if that was Justin Jefferson that night. Oh my God. Aaron was coming back on, you remember?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Aaron was in a Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah.
He was on early in the draft. Yeah, maybe I'll stop back later after the Packers do. He might have been kind of keyed in that there might be a move because he seemed to be jolly.
Good,
very
spirits.
happy.
If you remember. What if he was told, hey, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, we're going to go get him? He probably was.
Oh, man.
And then all of a sudden, no, complete opposite, actually.
We're going to take a quarterback. So
He'd still be the quarterback of the Packers.
He was so jolly.
Might be.
Do you remember how jolly he was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing the Packers might make some moves. Like, I remember it now looking back. That's my first time hearing it. I don't know if you've said that on this show, and I apologize for not reading it. That's my first time hearing that was a possibility. And if it wasn't my first time, I am remembering or learning of it in the moment. What a move that would have been. I don't know if you guys would have been able to stop the damn run, which was your biggest problem.
Right.
At the time.
Yeah.
But it would have helped out on the offensive side for sure, Schneid's.
Well, the funny part about that is I remember watching your show that night, and Aaron had said it would be nice if we took an offensive skill position player. We haven't taken one in the last 15 years since me. And they did.
Okay.
So
It's true.
I mean, look. Jordan Love has panned out. People can think what they want about him, whether it's a prove it year for him. I don't think it is, but they were not planning to draft him. Like I said, they were trying to trade up, but the 49ers and Vikings have no reason to trade their pick to the Packers, knowing what they probably want to do. So they quote unquote settled for Jordan Love. Obviously, that has panned out great for them. But yeah, it's interesting to look back and think about what might have been that year.
Yeah, Aaron's definitely still a Packer.
Yeah. Unless
No, it was in
they won the Super Bowl.
It was in the stars. He was always going to be a Steeler.
Oh, mama, I'm in mama. Are you going to watch that, Schneids? Are you excited to watch the Aaron Rodgers Pittsburgh Steelers show? How does Green Bay feel about it? Here we go. Boots on the ground. How does Green Bay feel about Aaron with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is there any chatter?
I don't know about Brian Gutekunst specifically. Aaron infamously told me 2 years ago that he did not like Brian Gutekunst straight up, so I don't know how they feel about each other. And that was on the record. I'm not saying anything out of line, but I just wish that game was at Lambeau. I can't wait to get to Pittsburgh for that game. I just hope Aaron stays healthy for at least the first 7 weeks of the season because that game's in week 8. Mm-hmm. But I think Green Bay loves Aaron Rodgers. He'll be welcomed back here with open arms. In whatever it is, 5 years when his number becomes the 7th one ever retired here. So I think the fans love him. The few players left here who played with him love him.